Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. This week, we are covering some breaking news stories. We've got Jamie Comer versus the Clintons. I know who I'm betting on. We've got some important stories about bad bills coming to us from the legislature because, of course, the General Assembly is in session, and the bad ideas don't stop when those clowns get together in Frankfort. But we have some folks who are bringing some, I think, cool-headed, common sense rationality to the hootenanny up there in the state capitol. We're going to be checking in with Kentucky Conservation Committee's Lane Boldman in our campaign corner. Then we're super excited to be talking with Lexington State Representative Ann Gay Donworth. So it should be a great show. So thrilled you've joined us. But before we get to the news, I just want to check in and make sure you are ready to turn Kentucky's 6th District purple, right? That's what we're trying to do. A few things that we're kind of pointing to give me some hope about that entire concept, that entire project. ICE out for good, folks. Folks from across Kentucky came together this weekend to protest the ICE murder of Nicole Good in Minneapolis last week. There are over 1,200 events organized all across the country. In Lexington, Progress Kentucky and our partners organized a rapid response rally demanding ICE accountability. Close to 1,000 folks turned up on a very cold Sunday afternoon. Really does. It gives me so much hope. In Northern Kentucky, a similar size crowd marched around an infamous ICE detention center up there. Folks showed up for a silent march in Frankfort. Paducah had hundreds, similarly in Bowling Green. Louisville had a few hundred turnout. Just really phenomenal, and hints, I think, at the hunger for the significant political change we need in Kentucky. And of course, we are working to turn that outrage into action. For the next 10 months, Progress Kentucky is going to be focused on flipping the 6th district and key state house seats that are within that 16 county congressional district. We got 4 great candidates running, but of course we're looking beyond the primary and working to shift the electorate who will ultimately show up next November to get more voters at the polls, right? It's a really big job. It's going to take volunteers, time, and resources. We really need your help. We had an amazing Flip the 6 campaign volunteer event at the Lexington West 6 Barrel Room on Monday, January 5th. 50 folks coming out to write postcards to voters that need engagement to show up for next November's election. We're going to be back there Monday, February 2nd. Really, grateful to them for hosting us there at the Barrel Room. This month we had Aaron Petrie speak. Next month we'll have David Kloiber speaking. Sherilyn Stevenson is booked for March, and then Zach Dembo should be joining us for April. So if you want to hear from all the Democratic candidates running for the 6th District, just make sure to come out to our monthly Lexington volunteer nights, and you'll hear from them. Breaking news on this front, we're actually looking to organize similar events in Madison County. So if you're in Richmond or Berea, or if Richmond's more convenient for you to get to than Lexington, maybe looking at you, Estill County, circle Saturday, February 7th on your calendar. So if you want to help out, just make plans to join us next month. Reach out now. We can get you set up writing postcards to your neighbors as soon as possible. There's a sign up link that we will put in the chat right now, so you can click on it and sign up. But again, I think these massive demonstrations are pointing to just a real hunger for change. We need to just really capture that, get it directed, put it to work to have an impact on that election. And if your handwriting is too illegible to be helpful, please make a monthly contribution right now via our secure online website, ActBlue, to help turn Kentucky 6 purple. So $6 a month, $16 a month, $600, whatever. It all adds up. It all becomes real political change. And unfortunately, none of it is tax deductible because it's going to our political work. But all that to be said, super exciting show. Really thrilled that you've joined us. Want to check in with our co-host. Now's the time of the show. We're going to share with you who's on our biting list. Inspired by the Eastern Kentucky Bard Tyler Childers. If you've not heard his new album, you got to check it out. But he's got a biting list. We've got our biting list, folks, that if we had the rabies, maybe we'd take a visit to these folks. And I'll start. So I think today on my biting list is going to be Representative Scott Sharp. He is a Republican from Ashland, and he filed this week House Bill 360 to criminalize drag performances. That's right. He thinks it should be illegal for folks to do drag in Kentucky. What a cool guy. What a cool guy. So yeah, he's on my biting list. Let's check in with our co-hosts. How about you, Nate? Hello.
I was just leaving you a note how to pronounce Tyler Childers' surname. Hey, folks, it's
he'll answer them either way.
Nate Orshan here, coming live and direct from Kit and Mai's lovely South Frankfort home, and I'll just put a plug in for the postcard writing events. I joined Aaron and a gazillion people in Lexington in December, and it was so much fun. And these days, we're looking to resist. We're also looking to have some fun and sort of fellowship with fellow people who also feel like we're all losing our minds. So you're not alone. So highly recommended. So anyway, to get to the biting list, my biting list is going to be my Congressman Jamie Comer, who I'll be talking about in a little bit, but he deserves to get rabies if I ever had it. So,
absolutely, Jamie Comer for sure, perennial guy that should be on that list. Kimberly, are you there?
Yes, I am here, and I'm coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. However, I live in one of the small cities called Shively, which a lot of people don't know, that we have 80 small cities right here in Louisville, Kentucky, and Jefferson County. Isn't that amazing? 80?
80?
Dang.
Yes, that have their own fire department, mayors, council people, and so on and so forth. Police departments. It's amazing. I didn't even know that. It blows my mind. Yeah. But on my biting list today, just every damn body's on it. How about that? Everybody's, I mean, like, it's so hard to pick somebody. Everything is just like blowing up. Locally here in Louisville, I mean, there's so much stuff going on here in Frankfort, in our state, nationally, internationally. It is enough to just make everybody, their brain just in a tizzy. But I will pick one specific one. We all feel for the family of Renee Nicole Good, who was brutally murdered by ICE. We've also found that ICE has been hiring people that can't even read or write or pass the physical exam. What is going? Yeah. Then yesterday, the real people on my biting list is that Pam Bondi, who's the AG and the whole Department of Justice. I mean, what is going on when they have put out there that they will not investigate the killing of Renee Nicole Good? Come on. Even the police department would investigate this longer than what they have. It's a shutdown. Totally, it is shut down at this time. So everybody's on my list, but at the top of my list is Pam Bondi and her Department of Justice.
Yeah. Department of Injustice, Department of In the Bag for Trump, Department of, just
like they got rid of the consent decree here in Louisville, Kentucky, because of the Breonna Taylor murder by the police officers here. It's gone. It's over. It's done. I'm telling you, we're moving into unprecedented waters. So I hope everybody has a life jacket and, you get to your nearest dispensary because we're all going to need it.
Yeah, it's not an endorsement, but it is, an acknowledgement. So self-medication is happening. I think that it's really important that we keep an eye on that, right? So main justice, Department of Justice in DC as a bunch of a specific civil rights division. Kimberly, you mentioned the Louisville's consent decree, which they vacated. A bunch of those attorneys left because they weren't going to be allowed to investigate that ICE shooting, which is their job, right? The job they signed up for. So really just problematic for sure. What do you need, Nate?
Oh, I'm practicing my dance moves.
Oh, okay. I did not
Oh,
know
I'm sorry. Are we live? Oh,
are we talking to real? Not that many. It's cool. So low stakes on Kernels of Truth, people. It's fine. We can be loose. Right. I think our audience is forgiving generally. Yes. But yeah, let's do news of the week, shall we? Kim, we've got some cool stories, I think, queued up. I always get excited by the graphic. I'm a sucker for some moving words, moving text.
Thank you, Parker.
So, thank you, Parker, and adroitly queued up by Annabel this week. All right, so I think story one is coming to us from Nate. What do you got?
What I got is Jamie Comer. He's on my biting list. Well, you may know Congressman Comer as Kentucky's District 1 representative, but he has an even more impressive title at work, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. This committee is theoretically supposed to, quote, ensure the efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability of the federal government and all its agencies. This is from their webpage. But lately, what they've been working on is investigating convicted sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein, the same guy who Trump swore during his 2024 campaign he would release all the files on. And then he's sort of been doing the opposite. So much so that the House had to pass a bill just last month to get the Department of Justice to release all the files. Great. So is the committee looking into any of this? Apparently not. As reported in the Kentucky Lantern and the Herald Leader, they subpoenaed former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Senator and former Secretary of State, and the important part, Trump's opponent in the 2016 presidential campaign. Why? Well, apparently President Clinton's name appears in the Epstein files, so on a certain level, might make sense. But if Congressman Comer really wanted to know, he'd maybe subpoena Department of Justice head Pam Bondi to see what's taking them so long. So anyway, they subpoenaed the Clintons, both Bill and Hillary, and on Tuesday, they wrote back a scathing, nope, not going to do it, not showing up, not going to happen. And needless to say, according to Austin Horn, the Herald Leader, quote, Comer has responded by saying he'll pursue contempt of Congress charges against the Clintons for their refusal. Well, they had a very long-winded and excellent sort of nope letter that they sent and was shared with the public. And I would like to read you just the best part according to what I was able to see here. They wrote to Chairman Comer, quote, you claim your subpoenas are inviolate when they are used against us, yet were silent when the sitting president took the same position as a former president barely more than 3 years ago. We call on you to release that analysis to the public to allow them to see how this is yet another example of the casual disregard of the law of the land. All the while, you have done nothing with your oversight capacity to thwart the Department of Justice to follow the law and release all its Epstein files, including any material regarding us, as we have publicly called for. The release of Justice's Epstein files is only because 4 Republicans out of 220 joined every Democrat to reach the minimum number of members to force a vote. You were not one of those 4. So mic drop, and we'll see what happens next. But it sure is fascinating. It sure is satisfying, I should say, to be able to tell off Chairman Comer that way. And suffice it to say, if they had a buy list, he would probably be on it too. Back to you, Aaron and Kimberly.
Yeah, that's I'm like I said earlier, like I'm not a betting man. Occasional sports book from time to time, just the teams I really like. But if I was going to bet on who's going to come out better on this one, I think it's the Clintons. Yeah. But of course, we got such jaundiced media, and people are in their kind of own bubbles, and so I'm sure the Fox News crowd is like going nuts over this right now. And Comer's of course doing the work of the Lord or whatever. But it does seem like the Epstein stuff is not really turning out well for the Republicans right now. So I say, keep fighting on it for sure. Get that, listen to the victims, amplify their voices. But it does seem like, this can cut both ways. And, the Clintons saying, yeah, we don't want to come and talk to you, even though their rationale is like fairly bulletproof, when you can just cut it out to be a headline like, oh, Clinton refuses to come and talk about Epstein, his interactions with Epstein. That doesn't exactly look great on Fox News, right?
Yeah. But, they're not they're not here to cater to Fox News. Right.
No, right. You're not going to win them over anyway, right? So
nope. They're going to speak
but
truth to
I do
power.
think if there is a subject matter that you can gain some ground with Republicans, it is on Epstein, right? So, Anyway, I do think the political instincts of the Clintons aren't always perfect, but I do think their skills are pretty impressive, right? So, it'll be interesting to watch this one play out. Kimberly, any thoughts on it?
I just want to bring this up. Aren't we just tired of all of this stuff? It's like our country is not our country anymore. It's like, it's terrible. And it's one thing after another. But this is what I want to say to all criminals and potential criminals. How can anybody in this country get in trouble for anything, contempt of anything, when we have a criminal, essayed, convicted president? Okay, he's not even on the SA register. How is that fair? So, all this other stuff is mediocre. It's just in the news for today. Nobody really cares about it come next week, because it'll be 5, 6, 9 things that has happened with our own government here in Kentucky and the federal government that nobody will remember about the Clintons. Like, I didn't even think about the Clintons until just now, to this story, really, because there's so much stuff going on. So I just say this. I love the Clintons, and they will get out of it, most definitely, because they still have so many supporters. They're not going to go down. They're not going to get locked up. They're not going to get sanctioned. Nothing is going to happen. This is more media to take the emphasis off of what's really going on, for us to look back at aren't we tired of looking at the Clintons? I mean, really, her emails.
Yeah.
That's classic. That's the classic. That'll never go away. All right. So
lock her up.
I think you've got the next story. We do need to move along because we've got 2 amazing guests we need to talk to tonight. So can you go ahead and move into your story?
Yeah, I always have to rush. Let me rush on this one. I'm going to call my buddy Nima tomorrow and just get a few quotes from her and maybe do a reel or something like that on our Progress Kentucky page, how she's really feeling about all of this. But what's going on is so asinine that I've had to look over this 3, 4, 5, 6 times just to make sure that I'm reading correctly. And when I saw it on the news, I had to replay it to make sure that I heard it correctly. And what it is a Republican lawmaker right here in the state of Kentucky has filed 2 bills designed to keep naturalized Americans and those with dual citizenship from serving in local or state elected offices in Kentucky. So a lot of people may not know exactly what a naturalized citizen is. So I want to make this clear for everyone. It's a person who wasn't born in the U.S. However, they have completed the entire legal process, and it is a process, ladies and gentlemen, to become a citizen of the United States. So I call these people Americans. They know more about the Constitution than what me and you do. Okay, so this Republican, of course, you all knew it was only a Republican that could do something so crazy. Representative Shane Baker. He wants to ban naturalized citizens and people with dual citizenship from holding local or state offices. And this Republican, who is from Somerset, excuse me, he's making my brain do somersaults, but from Somerset, told the Kentucky Public Radio he's proposing legislation in order to block them from taking Kentucky in an unspecified direction. Is this racist? comments? Yes, I do believe they are. He also stated that you can see the direction they're trying to take New York because all the white supremacists hate the New York mayor and the problems that are there on the front burner. He says, we don't want to face those things in Kentucky. We want to make sure to head things off before they get here. So we know that he's talking about the New York mayor, Zoran Madami. I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. He is a naturalized citizen from Uganda. Okay. And also, he's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. But Baker introduced both a bill and a constitutional amendment this week, and that's House Bill 186. If you want to, make sure that you're staying on top of that, it's House Bill 186. It would require people elected to local offices like county commissioners, mayors, city council, board of education, so on and so forth, to be natural born citizens and may not hold dual citizenship with another nation. Now, House Bill 259. Make sure you're writing this down or putting them in notes in your phone because you want to watch these bills. Meanwhile, House Bill 259 would change our Kentucky Constitution to make the same new requirements for state offices like governor, attorney general, Supreme Court justice, or state lawmakers. But there are already Kentucky politicians serving their communities, such as a very close friend to Kernels of Truth, Nima Kulkarnian. And with her, she has served in the House ever since 2019, and she's done an excellent job. She's also an immigration attorney. And I also hear that her dad, who was very, very much into politics early on, is running for a seat as well. And I believe it's for a council seat here in Metro Louisville. So, this would alienate a lot of people that could serve the communities. They've gone through what they needed to go through to become a U.S. citizen. So it's really mind-boggling to me and so many others when there's so many other things happening out there that this would be a proposed bill, okay? A proposed bill that they want to vote on. Go figure that. But, a lot of people, just like the vice mayor in Lexington, who was born in China before moving to the U.S. as a child. He was elected in 2022. What does that mean for him and Nima and so many other elected officials that are doing the work and that are working overtime for their communities and for this state? I don't know how this will go. I used to maybe gamble and call it, but with everything that's going on in the world today, I don't know if this would go through. If it was 12 years ago, I probably would have said, oh, this would never go through. Nobody's going to pay attention to that. But now, can we honestly say that it won't go through? We don't know. So Baker's bill would also add a 1-year residency requirement for city council and mayoral candidates, which that is already what it is for most cities and towns in the state of Kentucky. I know here in Louisville, you have to live at that address for at least a year, be a resident of that district for at least a year. I do know that. And some offices are for longer than that. But the state constitution since 1891 has required all state representatives to be citizens of Kentucky, at least 24 years of age, to reside in the state for at least 2 years and in their area for at least the last year. The same rules apply for state senators. So these two House bills, once again, I want to reiterate to you and make sure that you know what these bills are when you hear them come up. They will be coming up. House Bill 186 and also House Bill 259. I'll be keeping close tabs on this, you guys, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on here in the state of Kentucky with this asinine bill. I really want to say another word, but there may be some young people looking at this later and listening, so I'll just say the asinine bill. Get me? Okay, back to you, Aaron.
It is. It's an avalanche of asinine bills, basically. The first couple of weeks of the session, all these bad ideas are being shared, and yeah, the Republican Party should be ashamed and embarrassed that one of their members is introducing this. I would really hope that Stivers and other leaders, ignore it and it doesn't get any time of day. It goes to committee on committees to die, the death it deserves. But you're really just ashamed to see that coming from our state. The direction that New York is going in, what the voters chose, a Muslim, bright young political superstar to like represent them. Like that's a real problem. I don't know. So it is, Representative Kulkarni's dad got into the mix to run, was so fired up. It was the kind of, I think, straw that broke the camel's back on him getting into the fight too. So we'll see what happens out of that. But yeah, really important story. Good to flag it. Thanks for that. One thing really quickly, I know that we are running late. We need to get to our guest. But I did want to just flag that we have been following the Blue Oval fight for quite some time. So, the workers at the Blue Oval battery factory, which of course, they were working really hard to get union representation. And now, Ford is totally, pivoted with that factory and is not going to be manufacturing EV batteries because of the massive changes in the political landscape, and the policies that have supported EVs have kind of gone away under Trump. So they are, they're just not going to have the market to use that factory. But the fight for unionization actually went in favor of the workers. I think that will increase the seat at the table that they have for managing the layoffs and managing the shift, and hopefully it means that those workers will be kind of first in line for coming back when and if that factory fires up again to do energy storage batteries is what they're saying they're going to do. We'll see. But just wanted to acknowledge and recognize and congratulate the workers for the hard work that they did to get that UAW representation at the the E-Town factory. So way to go, workers. And we had Haley Hatfield on 2 weeks ago, I guess, to talk about what they were going through. And I think she had a really powerful story. If you missed that, go back and look at it. She's a great spokesperson for those workers and what they're going through. All right, let's do it. We got Campaign Corner now. We are thrilled to be talking to our friend who has been on the show, maybe more than, some of our co-hosts, I think. Lane Boldman with the Kentucky Conservation Committee, really an important watchdog in the legislature, paying attention to environmental bills, what's kind of happening with our natural environment in Frankfort. And I know they are doing some really important work and have some important opportunities for people to get plugged in to helping watchdog the legislature. So Lane, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thanks for mentioning Blue Oval, because I bought my EV last year. I love it. So I'd like to see more and more and more.
More EVs. I bought mine just 2 weeks ago, and it is exciting. And what I'm going to say about my car is it's really fast and it's really fun to drive, and I don't even really care about the environment. I just like going fast quietly.
It is fun, and it makes the commute to Frankfurt pretty good. I just come home, plug it back in, and run back up to Frankfurt again.
Yeah. How long does it take to charge? It takes you 30 seconds. It's not that easy. You plug it in, you go to bed, you come back, it's done. It's
come back ready to go up to the hill again.
Yeah. All right. So tell us what's going on. Anything problematic on your radar so far? Anything that would rival last session's dirty water bill, or things that are really problematic?
Well, stand by. It's still a little early in the session. We've gone through about 300-400 bills now, pulled out a list of about 60. And a lot of them are the returns from last year. So it's not anything super crazy yet, but stand by, because we've been ramping up on certain bills. We've got one that landed on nuclear, expecting some more on nuclear. So if you're interested in learning more about nuclear, I'm going to give a plug for a conference we have coming up next Sunday on the 25th at KSU in Frankfurt. And you can register now, but we're going to go over all sorts of bills and legislative issues and learn how to make yourself a more effective advocate for those issues. We have supported your next guest, Representative Donworth's Fair Maps Act bill, which is HB 54. as one of those. She is welcome to come to our conference as well. It's open to any and all lawmakers who want to visit. But we expect on that conference to go through a full list of bills filed to date. We're also going to have people like Pam Thomas from the Kentucky Center of Economic Policy, who's going to do an overview on the state budget related to environmental issues. We're going to have Brian Sorts, who's the stormwater coordinator for the Division of Water, who's going to bring us some really great ways to deal with climate change flooding issues, as far as how to use land more effectively to manage water. And we're going to have a gentleman named Max Moran, who lives in Mason County up in Maysville. His community's been fighting these humongous data centers that have been surprising a lot of communities. So he's going to tell us all about the fight up in Mason County. They've been doing an awesome job on that. And then we're going to have some guests that are going to talk about some new energy studies out there, the updates on nuclear energy. And we're going to have some conversation about outdoor recreation bills and land conservation funding. But some of these bills are just now landing. So by next week, we should have a pretty healthy list of bills to go over in detail and answer all your questions about them. So I want to make a plug for that. You can register at kyconservation.org. It's on the homepage, big blue button. And then we're also going to teach people just how to be more effective as an advocate. But as far as bills filed right now, we've got some return bills that we've been trying to push for a while. One on healthy soils, just making farming a little more friendly and natural and good for you. And then we've got Representative Kulkarni has filed that, and we've also got one that she keeps putting out there on PFAS chemicals. You wouldn't think trying to do more studies on PFAS chemicals would be controversial, but for some reason that bill just isn't getting a hearing. So let's see if we can't make that happen this time. And then, like I said, we're going to talk a bit about what the latest is on nuclear energy. Some lawmakers want to really jump over wind and solar and go straight to nuclear, even though it's going to take about 15 years plus to get anything going, and it's really expensive. So that's some of the things that are going on right now, and we have our perennial campaign on utility disconnections. Those bills just landed tonight, but there'll be a couple of bills that we're going to discuss at the conference that have to do with making sure that people don't have their utilities shut off in extreme weather conditions. You would think that would also be a no-brainer, but for some reason that's controversial. So
yeah, we had a question queued up from Nate about that issue. Nate, what'd you have? You might be muted.
What I had was muted. Yeah. So we know that the Kentucky Conservation Committee is a member of the Kentuckians for Energy Democracy Coalition,
yes.
Which has been urging Governor Beshear to end utility shutoffs right during extreme weather.
Yep.
And I guess so far he's resisted doing that unilaterally. But
so during his address, he did at least acknowledge it, which we were glad that he brought it up because certainly we've all been making noise about it. This came about in particularly because we were trying to flag it in case there's another government shutdown. We don't want to see Kentuckians left high and dry and freezing or in danger. So he did propose $75 million in the state budget, in his budget, for addressing bills. The problem is that's just kind of throwing money at the problem, and that's not really the solution. The solution is to come up with policies like are in most states. Well over 40 states in the United States have these policies. We're one of the few outliers, and make sure that it's written in stone that you can't throw people into extreme heat or extreme cold just because they've missed a payment on their bills. And we've got examples of people that have had that happen to them for really small amounts of money, really small overages or underpayments of their bills. So that's an ongoing campaign. We are glad to see that bills dropped today on that. So there's one from Cassie Chambers Armstrong that just got filed, and there's another one on the House side as well. So we're really hoping that at least the House one starts off with a hearing. These bills haven't even been heard yet, and they've been filed several times now. So so you can learn the details of that. Like I said, we just got it, so we'll have all the details at our conference next week. And you can go to our website where we post updates on bills. On all of these 60 bills that we've done so far are described in detail on our website.
Super great resource, your website, your email newsletter, letting people know kind of what's happening. Really a great resource for anyone who's concerned about the environment and wants to pay attention to what they do up in Frankfort. Lane Boldman, thanks for joining us. You're going to have your summit on the 25th. Is that right? That's Saturday?
25th. It's from 1 to 5. It's up at Kentucky State University. And you can find it all on our website, kyconservation.org.
Nice. Awesome. All right. We'll put that in the show notes, and we've shared the link to register in the chat as well, so folks can go right to it. Lane, thanks again for all your hard work, and we will, I'm sure, check in again throughout this session.
Thanks so much.
Of course. All right. So thanks to friend of the show, Lane Boldman, Kentucky Conservation Committee. Great resource for anyone who's concerned about our environment here in Kentucky, rather. Now, really thrilled to be joined by Representative Ann Gay Donworth. As this long session gets underway, we want to check in with the movers and the shakers in Frankfort. Representative Donworth has been a great advocate for common sense causes in the legislature. She comes to the legislature after a long career kind of in the nonprofit world, worked with the library in Lexington, and is just a great individual in the community, working to help connect folks. And so we're really thrilled to have her back on the show. How are you doing this fine week?
Well, I've been listening to the comments and over here stress eating. So that sums up my life these days. You're right.
Weird times.
Very weird times. Very weird times. So thank you all for having me. Really appreciate getting to come chat with y'all.
So we're in the second week of the session. I know it's a long session. They got to do the 2-year budget. So there's kind of a lot of moving pieces. What bills are you supporting so far? What are you excited about?
I think the ones that, of course, as soon as I start talking, my dog jumps in my lap.
Yeah.
The House Democratic Caucus, we unveiled our platform last week, which is a common vision for Commonwealth. So really the 5 platforms there are food security, healthcare, housing, a fair shot for Kentucky families, and strong schools. And really what those mean are that we want to make sure that our people have access to food. We know that there are a lot of changes to the federal SNAP program that involves shifting a lot of the administrative work to the state. But we want to make sure that all people who need help getting food can get it, especially meals for seniors, expanding farm to food, food bank opportunities, making sure that people have access to healthy foods, as well as just making sure they have access to food. Healthcare, making sure working to protect our rural hospitals. I think you all have talked about this pretty extensively, with having the most rural hospitals in the country that could be impacted by the big ugly bill. And it's scary, especially even in Lexington, where I am. Our healthcare providers are bracing for what happens if they need to absorb additional healthcare services from around the state, which obviously they're going to do if they possibly can. But we want to make sure that people have access to healthcare close to home. You don't want to be driving 3-4 hours to get to a hospital in an emergency. Making sure that people have access to care. I'm so sorry. This dog wants to say hi to everybody.
We're so thrilled to have him. Who is he? What's his name?
His name is Oliver, and he does not like me to be talking to anyone who is not him.
I think Oliver's got some food insecurity. I think he's like, did you feed Oliver yet? Because I feel like he wants more food.
He always wants more food. That's what happens with a lab.
Food and love, food and love.
Food and love, exactly. Well, he's naughty, but it's a good thing he's cute sometimes. That's what I say. The other big piece out of the healthcare affordability that I really love, I'm not sure if it has actually been filed yet, is to cap the interest rate on medical debt so that it can't be more than 3%. The whole idea is that if you get into an accident or you have a loved one who has a major health crisis, you should still be able to live your life and buy your groceries and be able to find a place to live. It shouldn't have unintended consequences for years and years to come. Obviously, housing continues to be a perennial project or perennial problem. So the governor proposed $150 million revolving affordable housing trust fund, which would help give people access to capital to help them be able to buy or to build, to finance more housing. And it's both affordable housing as well as housing affordability. So are you all familiar with that difference?
You should tell us, because maybe we are and maybe we've forgotten, or maybe we never knew.
So affordable housing, you usually see that like a capitalized A, affordable housing. That refers to it's restricted income, and it's based on the federal poverty level. So often, at least here in Lexington, when you see things that are done with our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, they are restricted. So people who make under a certain amount of money have access to those housing units. Housing affordability really covers everything. It is making sure that we have the missing middle, and not so that we don't have the people. We need to be taking care of everyone, not just the people that fit the criteria for the federal poverty level. And really, we're seeing problems with both of those areas. So trying to come up with ways that we can help make sure that people of all income levels can afford to live here.
That makes a lot of sense. Kind of depending whatever your kind of what your income level is, it doesn't really kind of get at everything, right? Maybe you've got a lot of debt that you're managing, but what you can actually spend on your health, your housing. So one question I've got, you have referred to a number of spots where the governor's putting money into his budget. He's did a lot of things, like and on rural healthcare, he's got a fund there. He's got money for food banks. He's spending a lot of money in his budget to seemingly address important things. We just talked to Lane about the emergency disconnect fund. But what's the reality of that budget? Meeting your body, which actually does set the numbers, right? So it's great he gave us a big speech. It's great that he's got these numbers. What happens now when the legislature gets that stuff?
So the fascinating part, this is my first budget session. So we had to submit our budget request last fall. And so we knew at that point, because the big ugly bill had already passed, we knew it was going to be a really tight budget year. So we were all advised to keep our budget requests to as low a level as we could to try to avoid new ongoing expenditures. And then we have things like the federal shutdown that happened. And so I think a lot of it is going to come down to the supermajority's leadership and how much do they want to help Kentuckians. We saw during the federal shutdown that they were upset that the Meals for Seniors program, for example, that they had run out of funding. Well, there was more demand than we had budgeted for. So I think there is some appetite within the supermajority. I hope there is some appetite to address some of these things. I hope that we can find some common sense. That said, we do not have any idea what the supermajority is going to put forward for the House budget bill at this point. So we are waiting along with everyone else. and hoping that and trying to work with our colleagues across the aisle to make sure that we can get some things included that are really important to Democrats in our constituencies, but really across the state.
Yeah. Yep. I've got a couple things I wanted to ask you, but I want to turn to my co-host. I know that Kimberly has been quiet for a long time, so I'll just say, is there anything you want to ask Representative Donworth, Kimberly?
Oh, I can't believe you said that, Aaron. I'm going to have to disown you this year. It's 2026. Can Aaron still be my brother? Put it in the comments, yes or no. The question that I have for you, Representative Ann Donworth, is, I talked earlier about House Bill 186 and House Bill 259, these xenophobic bills from State Representative Shane Baker. How concerned are you about that? Do you think that's going to go forward? You know the temperature of the legislature. You're there every day in session. What are your thoughts? Is this something that, we need to keep an eye on, or you think it's just going to dissipate?
I think I would say in general terms, until something is assigned to a committee hearing, not just assigned to committee, but until it is on the agenda for a committee meeting, I try not to panic over things. All bills are, in theory, assigned to a committee for review. It's really went up to the chair and the leadership's discretion on whether they are heard. So it's really when things get a committee hearing or scheduled to get a committee hearing that you need to start worrying about it. That said, the Kentucky Tonight segment this week that had Speaker Osborne was one of the panelists, and he said he thought that those bills had constitutional challenges. One of the pieces in particular that I think is really dangerous about these bills is that it would also impact members of the military, their children, or the diplomatic corps who are American citizens serving our country and living abroad. If they have a child, then they would not be able to run for office. And so I think this is another example to me of a bill that is looking for a problem to fix that really doesn't exist. And it also takes the choice away from the voters. Aaron mentioned, we have an incredibly popular vice mayor here in Lexington, Dan Wu, who is a naturalized Chinese American. The people of Lexington overwhelmingly wanted him to serve in office. And so we want to make sure that people get to choose the elected officials that they want to serve.
Yeah, what a stupid bill. I think it was in the comments.
Nicer word than what I said when I first read it.
I'm just going to end with this. I believe what the famous late poet Maya Angelou said: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. This Representative Shane, whatever his name is, I can't keep it in my brain too much. Probably not supposed to. He has shown us exactly who he is.
Agreed. There are a lot of really great bills in there that have been filed as well. There's still some really great ones to come. I will shamelessly plug Pre-K for All, which I know you all have talked about quite a lot. I carried that last year. And I know that the task force has been put together and they've issued their report with 2 different bills. So trying to work out to see exactly which proposal we think might move forward. Either one, I think, would do a really great job in making sure that people across Kentucky have better access to early childhood education for our 4-year-olds, also for childcare for working, let's be honest, for the working mothers. It is very difficult to find childcare everywhere, but especially in some of our rural areas. So hopefully we can get some of that moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really important one. As you said, we've talked about it a lot. I think we'll keep talking about it. Obviously the governor's made it a very significant priority for his administration. Maybe that makes it less likely to happen with your colleagues across the aisle. I have my own thoughts about that, which I've actually shared, I think, last episode. So I'll not get on that soapbox again today. But yeah, it's absolutely important for our Commonwealth that those needs are addressed. They're real needs, and they're all across the state for sure.
They are.
All right. So any other thoughts? Any other questions? Nate, anything you want to ask Representative Donworth?
Yeah, I've sort of got some general revenue questions, and part of it's related to the Pre-K for All initiative. These are all the kinds of policies that we all love and would support in a heartbeat, but they're constrained insofar as the legislature seems to want to keep reducing taxes, not have appropriate taxes for programs like this. So what's the thinking behind getting funding for stuff like that? And there's a sort of a second question too, which is I know that there are some stipulations for lowering taxes. Like they're not supposed to lower the tax rate, unless certain criteria are met. Do you foresee that they would try to lower taxes more, even with those criteria not allowing it? If you know what I mean. I'm not quite saying it the right way.
Yes. So I'll take the second question first. I think that the Republican caucus is divided on whether they think that they should still try to lower the income tax, even though they did not meet the triggers that they set themselves. And I have heard members of both chambers leadership saying different things. So some of them think that they should move forward and some of them don't. For our purpose, for the Pre-K for All, it is actually a relatively it's a lower budget request than what it was in previous years. But one of the ways that they have proposed to fund it is through sports wagering. When we set up sports wagering for the state of Kentucky, we did not designate where that funding would go, the tax revenue from it. So there is the potential to use some of that revenue, it would be the majority of that revenue, to invest it in our children. So I think that is a great use for that money. I think you all have probably discussed, although I can't remember hearing it, sports wagering here has been highly, highly popular, more popular than they had even projected. So it is something that if people are utilizing it already and we are able to use that funding to do something positive for the next generation, that's something I would really support.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that seems like just an appropriate use of those funds, because the more gambling you put out into society, there's probably going to be the youth are going to be affected and not positively. Think of all the lost revenue that went into people betting on the Wildcats this season already. Like, that is not a small amount of money.
That is a low blow, Aaron. That's a low blow.
Hey, I'm just watching the games. I'm not so it's obviously that's a really useful investment in our future. I would hope that, so who sets that? Like, what's the, is it just a vote of the legislature that would
it would be through the General Assembly's approval. Yes.
Yeah.
The General Assembly has to allocate the funding, and then the executive branch actually implements it.
Yeah. Well, sports, gambling was a bipartisan effort. So hopefully directing the funds to thoughtful things, which in many states are bipartisanly supported efforts. The Pre-K for All makes a lot of sense. That's a good question, Nate. Thanks for sharing that one. And then any other final thoughts you've got, Representative Donworth, you want to share before you head off?
I think there are going to be a lot of bills this session. It started off a little bit slower than usual. There were some technical issues as we were moving into our new chambers, so we did not get our bills the first day, and it's kind of been a slow, and I say slow, I want to say about 400 bills in the House that have been filed so far. I thought we would be way higher than that by now. So I expect there's going to be a lot of legislation filed within the next few weeks. And then we'll really get into the business of the budget once that drops. So we'll see when that happens.
Yeah. And are you having side conversations? Are there members of the kind of the correct committees that you're familiar with in terms of the budget? Are there people across the aisle you can work with and try to get your thoughts to them before that budget drops?
Many of them have been open to conversations, whether or not those materialize. These negotiations are largely taking place within the supermajorities caucus right now. So hopefully we'll be able to have some more conversations once it is public.
Yeah. And so this is your first, but you said your first budget that you're putting together. It's your second term, your second General Assembly?
My second year of my first term.
Okay. How are you liking it?
I weirdly love it. I keep telling people I hate the results. It feels like all you're doing is trying to make something that is abysmally terrible and make it just extremely terrible in a lot of cases. I'm a youngest child. I like the arguing and trying to make a point and trying to make sure that people see and know that there are people that want the same things that they want who are willing to fight for them. And so I think that's a lot of what we try to do.
It is awfully important to have representation. And I think it's, important work that you're doing representing viewpoints that, even if they don't carry the day because of the super duper majority on the other side, that, smart folks are making the best arguments possible for those values. So you're doing okay there. You're enjoying it oddly. So you want to go back there. So the filing deadlines were last week or earlier this week or something. So all the
afternoon. Yes.
So all the candidates are known. You have somebody running against you in the primary.
I do. I have someone against me in the primary as well as the general. So
that's interesting.
I do. So the primary will be a rematch of the race that I ran before. So cautiously optimistic. I've run this race once before and just keep trying to do the good work and get out in the community as much as I can and talk to as many voters as I can.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. The 76th House District, which you are representing. If you don't know what district you are in, you should go to the Secretary of State's website. You can look it up. They can tell you where you are, what district you're in. I wouldn't be able to find it on the map. It's got a lot of it's interesting drawing. Not a lot of smooth straight lines. It's a lot of
no. And my redistricting bill is one that I filed last year that I know is not going to move, but to create an independent redistricting commission that only meets once every 10 years.
Yeah, the Trump administration would have zero interest in that. Just once every 10 years, and it's done by a commission of experts as opposed to a partisan hack job whenever we want it. Anyway, my words, not yours. But yeah, great to have that smart, common sense legislation that does the right thing. All right, so thanks again for taking the time to join us. Thanks for the work you're doing there in Frankfort, and thanks for the daily commute you're doing for us.
Well, thank you all. Thank you again for having me. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to talk with our legislators, and absolutely thrilled to hear the work, and we'll be watching it. It's really important, folks, that we have the legislators on individually to share what they're doing, what they're going through. I just appreciate so many of them are so generous with their time. I know that we've got Representative Lindsey Burke is going to be on in a couple of weeks. So she's in House leadership for the Dems. We'll hear her perspective there. We'll hear from others as the session grinds along. Maybe, Representative Donworth seemed to be pretty cheery. We'll check in a few weeks and see how people are doing after more and more of this process continues. Anyway, so I think that's it for the show. I think we're going to let Kimberly close us out, and pretty sure we've covered what we need to cover. Kimberly, you want to do that?
I sure can. This has been a wonderful show. We always love having Lane Boldman on here, and also with State Representative Ann Donworth representing the Lexington area and many other areas. It has been very enlightening tonight. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Nate, for being here tonight. You know, I always love doing the show with you as well. Progress Kentucky. Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project and Common Ground Kentucky Action, and also proud members of Forward Kentucky Network. Progress Kentucky's goal is always to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. We'll be back next week. As usual, we will be back next week, and we will be joined by More Perfect Union's Emmy Award-winning correspondent, John Russell, who has done amazing work on and for the internet news site covering progressive politics from a rural and working class perspective. Production of episode 242 was by our very own, very gracious Annabel Nagel, and Nate Orshan, who was also a co-host tonight, wrote and performed our theme song. You can find more information and music at natosongs.com. Once again, that's natosongs.com, natosongs.com. If you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcast and our show notes are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. If you do listen to the pod, please, 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 I beg of you, leave us a 5-star review whenever you listen. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for our viewers and our wonderful listeners. We will see you back here at the same time, same channel next week. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your week.